So everybody, wherever you are in the world, welcome. This is where I am, and I am going to show you a little bit about our DevOps solution. And what I really wanted to show you is, okay, how does a DevOps solution or a application lifecycle management solution work in the modern era, right? So we of course started with green screen, then we went up to RDI and Eclipse, and that was at the time was fantastic technology. That got a little bit older, as we know, but luckily there's a new kid on the block, VS Code, already out for a couple of years, but really adopted since a couple of years. Yeah, we also jumped on that train, and we built a web framework called Octo. It means something, but I'm not going to bother you with that. We built our TDOMS solution on top of that, and TDOMS basically is a full stack DevOps solution. So what does that mean? When we talk about DevOps, we talk about maybe Git, we talk about Jenkins. So there's a bunch of tools that are bind together to do a specific task in that DevOps workflow. For example, like ticketing and source control and deployment and things like that. And we are a full stack DevOps, meaning that we do the complete thing from ticket to deployment, source control. Everything is done with one solution called TDOMS. Okay, so if we go from tickets to task, source, let me just minimize this, source control, there's impact analysis, the software development lifecycle, of course, dashboards, Kanban, and it is all built in the web and VS Code, and of course also still in RDI and 5250. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how this development flow works. So there is the end user or the business at the top, and they want something from us, right? So they want they want something new, or they want to have something fixed, and they file an issue in a ticketing system. Now there's maybe 1,500 ticketing systems in the world, so we have to interface with a bunch of them. One of the most popular ones is Jira. So I'm going to take you to a tour of Jira and see how that interfaces with the whole flow. So the end user files a ticket, and then it arrives with what we call maybe the technical lead or the customer liaisons officer. So somebody that can talk to the customer, can talk to the business, but can also talk to the developers. So they assess what is going on. Let's just assume something needs to be fixed or created. They assigned it to the dev team, traditionally a bunch of guys with beards, right? And then they are using their tools like VS Code, in our case, Octo and web technology, to build their software so that it arrives in the development environment on our beautiful IBM i. So from that point, the team takes over after something has been done, and you get this, after the development, you get this, developer testing, unit testing part in your development cycle. And when everything is okay there, we push it up to UAT, QA, right? There's a bunch of different steps can be done before we actually reach production. But basically the idea of those UAT and QA environments is to say, okay, customer or end user, let's take a look at this together and see if you're happy with this change. Of course, the customer is happy, then the technical team takes over and pushes that stuff into the production environment, and at that point we are back in business, literally, right? So this is the whole development workflow, and that is what we take care of with our DevOps solution. And in the end, of course, what we want is to have automation, right? So instead of people looking at the change, which still, of course, is needed in some capacity, but there's also a lot of tooling already available that can run unit tests and integration tests automatically. And you can imagine when this unit testing software says, okay, everything is fine, then we could also automatically deploy the code from dev to UAT. And then if the customer gives in a sign-off, a signature, a digital signature, that can also automatically trigger the deployment to production. So a lot of these steps can be done manually, but we can also grow into a pipeline, literally, that has a lot of automation built into it, where one event can really trigger a deployment. So this is the stuff that I wanted to show. So let's take a look at. Let me just take. Let's take a look at this process, right? So first of all. Let's take a look at the UI. So we are now inside VS Code, and we have built a plugin or a extension, as it is called in VS Code, and that is visible over here next to all the extensions that I have. You can see if you use VS Code, yeah, there's different ways of positioning this bar. So this gives me the most space, but inside here we can find our OMS application extension. Okay, so let me just close up a bunch of things. So how do you get that extension? Well, of course, you need to have our software installed, but after that, it is quite easy. You go to the VS Code Marketplace, you type in Octo or OMS, and you can install it. But that's only if you have actually installed it also on the IBM I, because that is what it communicates with. Okay, so let's take a look at a very simple workflow. So most of the time, what we want to do is we want to start from a ticket, right? So inside our offering, inside VS Code, we have an interface with a tracker. And a tracker can host multiple tracking systems. In this case, it is Jira. So you can see that there is a filter over here that shows me all the filters, all the Jira tickets that are assigned to me, and that I have to work on. So from my VS Code, I can just straight look in all my tickets. If I want, I can actually open this with the browser. And I will directly go to Jira. So that is one other aspect as well of the modern pipeline, is that everything is connected. So you can connect the VS Code with Jira, and that is all done through that beautiful hyperlinking stuff, right? So that was invented by Mr. Lee, I think, Tim Berners-Lee, is that his name, if I remember correctly? And that hyperlinking technology is really also present in this whole DevOps pipeline. So let's try to create a new ticket over here. And let's say I am going to do a lunch and learn plus fix a customer bugs. And fix a customer bug. Okay, so yeah, I can type in my other stuff, but you get the idea, right? So we create this inside Jira. So inside here, we have now desk 5, lunch and learn, and fix a customer bug. So let's actually fix a bug. And for that, we go to our trusty green screen. Not sure if you still have green screen applications, but I have one from the past that we used to use, and that is a help desk system. And so now, of course, everything is in the web, but this system we built like years and years ago, and it's now open source just to serve as a full application. It is on GitHub if you're interested. And it has also a customer maintenance function. So this should also be very familiar to everybody, right? In one way or another, we will have some kind of customer maintenance function. And it so happens that this one has a bug, and this bug is the bug that I'm going to solve. So the bug is quite easy. I made the bug myself. It says I try option 5 is display, which is advertised over here. But when I use it, it says it's not valid. It should be 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, or 12. Well, I did 5, so yeah, I could say that that is a bug, right? So what I can do over here is I can take my a screenshot and then, point some arrows to make things obvious. Take that and go to my ticket and then file a let's say report. Look at this. My customer maintenance customers cannot be all right. So paste, and we have this picture says more than 1,000 words. So now I have my ticket in here. And what I can do at the moment is I can say, okay, lovely, I have filed the ticket. My work as an end user basically is done. So if I go back to this assignment, this guy, which is me, filed a ticket in Jira, and now it arrives with the team lead, which is also me, right? And well, I get a mail, I click on that link, and I arrive here again in my Jira. So of course, what I do at the first time is I say thanks for reporting, because every bug report is a love letter, right? So people care to file issues, and they want to help make the system better. We will take a look. Okay, great. So to save some time, I already know, okay, I can see that this is a bug. I'm not going to revisit that. I'm going to just assign it to somebody, and I'm going to assign it to my favorite programmer, which is also me. So now I have a new Jira ticket, and the Jira ticket is in to do. I can move it to in progress, right? So Jira has a simple workflow. And yeah, basically this is what now happened. We filed the issue, somebody looked at it, and it was assigned to somebody. So now we can start working on it. So this is all Jira or any other ticketing system that you might be using. And now I'm the developer again, and I go back inside my Jira. And if I press refresh, I should now see my Lunch and Learn ticket appear in my VS Code. So beautiful. Okay, great. Now I want to fix this. And in order to fix it, I have to create a task inside TDOMS, inside the change management system. And I can do that very simple. I can say here, link this to a new task. So I'm creating a task. And I have to tell in what, let's say, area of my application this goes. So I have my example application over here. That is where I'm going to create it. My task 732 was successfully created. And if I press refresh here, I can see that XD0732 Lunch and Learn Fix a Customer Bug has been created. Okay, wonderful. So now I can start working. I'm the developer, and I can take my tools to fix that bug. So first of all, I see this, and I can click on it, and I can then go back to my Jira. And if I'm back in my Jira, I can see that the program that we're talking about is customer maintenance, and the program name is conveniently placed here, right? So always a function must have some kind of identification, and luckily that was also the standard here. So it's program OM8011 and customer maintenance. So that is what I want to fix. So I'm going to start on my task. Obviously, I'm free here as well as a developer to say, okay, great, I'm going to start, right, on it, right? I could say here, always keep the communication running. I'm going, sorry for the, I'm back in VS Code now. Here's my Lunch and Learn and Fix the Customer Bug. And by the way, if I go back to my Jira again and refresh it, we also created a backlink inside the Jira ticket. So instead of having it one way from the Jira ticket to the TDOMS task, there is also a link to the tasks. And if I click that, it will actually open a browser and show the task in a browser window. So that's why I said it is VS Code and browser together, right? So you can choose where to work in the browser or inside VS Code. So there's nothing attached to this task yet. I only have some details that I can take a look at. But yeah, the manager could add comments to this, all kind of stuff you can do with this task as well. Okay, back inside VS Code. I hope you can keep up. So let's find the problem program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my components view, and my components view contains all the programs that I have in my workflow. So all my production libraries, my test libraries, all my development directories, my test directories, so IFS and native, everything is in one. So let me click on my lunch and learn and fix a customer bug task to make that active, right? You can see that this is now the one that is active. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my customer maintenance program, right? So I can just type customer maintenance, and yeah, all your components will be Googled on that text. So you can see these things are very, yeah, let's say they're numbered, right? Basically, all our programs are numbered. And for any new person coming in, it is really hard to know what is what. So if you have, little Googles like that, so customer maintenance, customer file, that can help new people to get acquainted with the objects, or at least find them quickly. That's of course brilliant. Okay, customer maintenance. I see OM8011 over here. It is in production at the moment, and yeah, I can now attach it to my task. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to do a direct connect. I can also do a checkout, means it's immediately available for development. But I'm going to just connect it to my task, so it stays in production. I didn't really yet push it out, right? So that is the traditional paradigm of taking it from production and then checking it out. Like I said, it can be quick, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of how to do that. Okay, so Mike just talked about those virtual environments inside Python, right? So you can just make your own little environment, and then you can code away and not bother anybody else. But unfortunately, in our traditional working in the IBM I, that is not the case, right? So at the most, we have our personal development library, but then we go to test and we put everything in test, right? So if you're working with 10 people or even more, or even with 5 people or more, right? What do you put in test? What is in test at the moment? There's stuff in test that is really in test, but there's also stuff in test that never gets promoted to UAT. So it can be a very messy environment, right? So if I'm in test and in the general test library, and I want to test my stuff, what am I actually testing? Am I testing my stuff, or is there so much pollution in test that I have no idea what I'm testing? So for that scenario, we have in Python a virtual environment. In Git, we have branches, and in TDOMS, we also have branches. So I can go in here and I can say, create a branch. So what happens here? I create a branch, and that will create a little environment for me with my own personal directory, my own personal library, only for this specific task. So when I'm testing, I'm just putting my library in front of my general testing library and nothing else. So that is really a nice way of working. Okay, so I created that environment. So let's pull this thing to my development environment. And I can do that by saying here, transfer and checkout, right? But of course, we want to see something, something graphical. So and maybe you already see it, we also have a Kanban environment that will represent the tasks, but in a graphical way. So I can see, okay, what is to do? So here's lunch and learn and fix a customer bug. And I want to deploy that to my Kanban, to my lanes, to my pipeline. So I can either drag it to hot. So hot means hotfix. I can move it from hotfix to production straight away, which is convenient. But otherwise, when I go through to development, I then have to go through test, int, and follow the complete pipeline before I can reach production. So let's do that. I am going to drag and drop. So that is successful. Let's refresh here. You can see status production. And this pulled our program into our library. So let's take a look at the task again. And you can see it is in development, and it is in my library O_xt032D. So if I go to my IBM I, Word Lib, you can see that I actually pulled my program into that library. There's also an S if you work with source files, which has the QRPG LESRC. Okay, so that is separated and isolated. Okay, so let's fix that thing. So I'm just going to click on my program, and it will pop up the source for me, right? So you can see still old school, the reasonably old school RPG. So of course, first thing that we want to do is convert to free format, right? So yeah, this is totally part of VS Code. We just reusing that, right? Because we are inside that environment. Well, this will not compile straight away. So let me just, well, actually, let me just try that, right? I'm going to save it. Okay, so it already says, could not save it because of some source line is too big. I can already see it here in my outline. Right, so that's too big, and I have to punch it. So this is what I would do to convert it really to RPG free. Let's not go into that for the moment. I'm just going to reset this and go back to my old style. Okay, so what I want to do now is I really want to fix my issue. So I already know where my issue is. I have already made a search for it. So let's go and find that. You can see it's the problem here, right? So it is space 5 and not 5 in line with the rest. So that is basically the issue that's the bug that was generated. Okay, I can actually make a little error here to show you another nice aspect of this. So this is wrong code. You can already see it by the highlighting, of course. But if I forget to do that, I save it. What now happens is that we are being placed inside the build queue. And the build queue says, okay, I have to compile this program. Okay, great. So every time I save something, it is automatically pushed into the build queue to save time. I don't have to right click and compile and things like that. Just save it, and then it will be compiled. So you can see there's an issue. So what is the issue? I can show my errors inside the source, and it will bring me straight. You can see it also in the outline to the place where it misses something. Okay, very nice. So that saves me wading through a bunch of spool files. So I'm going to put my apostrophe over there, or my single quote, and I'm going to press Ctrl S again to save it. Again, it is automatically added to the build queue. I'm going to release it. And we are now green. So still the issues are here. I can just get rid of them by doing clear errors. Okay, so this was the fix, and we have compiled it successfully. Now I'm going to test it. So I'm going to take my library, which is already in my clipboard, and I'm going to go to my test environment, right, where I have customer maintenance, option 5, it doesn't work. So now I'm going to put my library in front of my normal library, which only contains my program. So what I'm testing is only my thing, right? So that's the beauty of that isolated environment. So add libraries entry and add that library. It adds it on top. str customer maintenance. I can go through the menu, but you get the idea. And now if I take a look, my function is actually fixed. So that's great. I've done it, right? So happy. I'm going to now push that to my test environment. So I can close this out. I can go to my Kanban boards, and I can say, okay, it looks great. Let's pull this and move that to my test environment. So if I'm quick, you can see there's a running man, right? Because it's done in the background. And now it is in test, right? So I just dragged it, and all the objects that are associated with that task are automatically pushed to the test environment. Wonderful. So even in this point, it is not coded here, but we could make a callback to Jira and also push that, or make an automatic comment, things like that, right? The sky is really the limit in what you can do with the hooks that we have. Okay, so now it is in test, and yeah, basically we are done, right? So we can give it to our customers, we can run our tests and make sure everything is fine. And after we are done here, we can then promote this to the integration environment. How am I doing with time? Somebody looking at the clock?
You're good. You got another 15 minutes if you want.
Oh,
But
another 15 minutes.
We're very flexible about these sort of things, so enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so I can take half an hour then. Maybe not that flexible.
Well, that'll just reduce what I have to talk about.
Yeah, and that is absolutely not what we want. Okay. All right, so yeah, the next thing then is to actually say, well, it's done, right? Let's move that to the integration environment. But oh no, that's not possible, because inside our pipeline, we have made a rule that says you can only go to int if you have a sign off by your peers, right? So the peers have to go in and say this was actually okay. And when we go from into production, we actually need a sign off from the customer. So the auditors, they will be very happy. They can see, okay, why did you make that? Well, because of this Jira ticket. Okay, I can see how that was done. And what did you actually change? Well, these programs, but what source lines did you change? And who signed off on it, right? So that whole audit trail is automatically built by applying those rules in the pipeline. Okay, so we cannot promote here. So what should we do here next is maybe take a look at some of the things that we can do when we are in the test environment. So one thing that we can do is a peer review, right? So I can right-click here as a peer. Now I'm person number 4, and I could do compare with production. So I can see here, okay, this was changed. Okay, very nice, very clean fix, right? So people are also very much tempted to also change other things or add comments or improve comments, right? And of course, there's a paradigm: always leave the software better than you found it, right? So always make sure that the code has more quality when it goes into production. And that could also entail that you update some comments, or you remove some dead code or whatever. But for the peer reviewers, it is nice if it just fixates on the issue at hand, right? So that they know what to look at. Because if you have many changes in here, it is hard to say, okay, what actually changed, what contributed to the bug, and what might potentially introduce new bugs. But yeah, that's just a little discussion topic. So this was done, and I'm really happy with it, right? So I can go to my task, and I can go to my ratification, as we call it. And we can sign off for a ratification group. So a ratification group can be peers, managers, QA, name it. But am I a member of the group? Yes, I'm a member of this group, and I can say good work. So normally I cannot sign off my own tasks, right? But otherwise it would take too long. So I made a little loophole. But I can say to my own task or to my peers task, yes, well done. I've seen everything, and it was ratified. Okay, so good work by Wim on this date and time. So the auditors can see who programmed it, what did they change, and who signed off on it, right? At least for the test environment. So once this is done, now I should be able to pull it into the integration environment, then in this way continue on to the next environment, which is finally production, but you get the idea. Okay, so a couple of things that, and if you have questions, then please let me know. And Mike, if you can monitor that, if there are any questions, then I'm happy to answer them while I'm showing a couple of other things in this area. So sometimes, you know, you just want to take a look at your spool files when you do a compile. So also from the build queue, we can show the errors inside the source. But if you want to see the job log, because maybe there was some kind of binding issue, whatever, right? You also want to go to the spool files. So, okay, all right. So, well, yeah, interesting. Okay, I thought we fixed that. But this is shows the spool files, and inside the spool files we can then let me just sign out here and sign back in. That should actually fix that. Okay, okay, so we have to take a look at that. But the spool files are here as well, so you can click on them, open them in the editor, and to review for that. When you are looking at the components view, sometimes you want to take a look at what is the dependency graph, right? So we have the object-to-object dependencies as well. So suppose somebody says, I want to add a field to the customer database. So the customer database could say customer star file PF. So I'm just looking for this, and now all my files that are PF and have something with customer are appearing. I could even also say, well, you have to be in production. So now I see everything in production, and inside here there should be my customer table, which is over here. So suppose I want to add a field to this customer table, then I want to see, okay, what is the impact of that change, right? And for that, we have a dependency chart. And the dependency chart will just show you, okay, this is my customer file. It is using a customer context. Maybe that is a foreign key constraint. There's a LF, there's some programs that use it directly. So this is the first level dependency of my customer file. But what if I want to change it and I want to see what is actually the impact of that change? Well, inside VS Code, I can go in and pick what we call an impact analysis report. So what if I change this file? What if, right? That is basically what I want to see here. It says, okay, if you change this file, then on the first level, the direct dependencies of that file, there's a logical and a program that use that thing directly. And then on level 2, there's a bunch of programs I can see that use that level 1 object, probably the logical, right? So these are using the logical, and that is how they go to the physical. So that's level 2. And then on level 3, there is a bunch of printer files and display files, right? So this is display files. So those are in use by my program. So if I want to change my my customer file, then I'm looking at this total impact analysis, right? And this thing I can attach to my task, and including all the dependencies. And then the final thing that I wanted to show you, and then I give it back to Mike, is the analytics, right? So inside a DevOps environment, you want to know, okay, what are my warnings? What are the things that I have to look at? So we can see here in the warnings view, all the things that you said should not happen. So for example, this chart says there are tasks longer than 1 month in development. So there's 10 tasks in this example application that are in development for more than a month. I don't want that, right? I don't want tasks to stick in development forever. Either clean them up, move them to test in UAT, but don't let them be stuck in development. So that's one chart, and my threshold is at 5, right? I accept 5, but anything over that will appear in my dashboard. If any sources are missing, I want to know it. Also for my developers, who has more tasks in development. You see, this guy has 14 tasks in development. He's overloaded, right? So he cannot work correctly anymore because he has just too much to do. And those are kind of metrics that I can use in my management, in my meetings, to say, okay, why do you have so much things on your plate, and can somebody else, right, take it over? There's some people that are less stressed. So these are the things that we can see with our dashboards. There are a lot of other charts as well, but yeah, it's all part of the modern DevOps experience. So I hope you enjoyed this demo. I'm done here. If you have questions, then let me know. I will be watching the Q&A, and yeah, thank you for your attention and giving me the opportunity to show this stuff to you.